Now, if you had to add 1 milliliter to a couple of your samples, you still dilute it to 10 milliliters. You sort of have to do it in a bit of a weird mathematical way. But what you can do, let me just find the right page here. Here we go. So that's basically the equation we're interested in. So I'm just going to snatch it so we have it and can reference. Actually, I would like both of these. So we're just going to grab them and throw them into Excel, which I did over here. There we go. Mainly so I can see what's going on. So what you would basically have to do, we're just going to grab our raw data. So that would be these. So we're just going to grab the raw data. So we have, oh dear Lord. Just paste the values. There we go. Okay. So the problem here is that we cannot really, I mean, you can try and estimate, or sorry, calculate the concentrations and try and do a fit, but it probably won't work. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, you look at this part of the equations. We know our total volume always ends up at 10 milliliters. V0 and Vs are the ones that we are changing along the way. So let us pretend that, let's just add a couple of things here so we can follow along. So let's say that we have the V0. So that is the amount of unknown, the amount of acid from the cereal. And we have our Vs. Now, hopefully you kept the Vs constant for the different ones. So it would be 0, 0.25, 0.5, 75. And I'm just going to copy those and reuse them. There we go. Like that. So let's say that for your beaker 0 or your first sample, we were able to use 2 milliliters. We put that everywhere. The same for the next one. 2. But for the last two, you were running out of samples, so you had to use just 1 milliliter for both of those, okay? Now, so in this case, what we're actually interested in is we would like to have the ratio that we have on the right here. So Ix over Isx. So this is my ratio, Ix, Isx. And I mean, we can calculate it here. What I just need, usually I would just do the average of, where do we have our zeros? 0 there, and there. There we go. And then you basically say, okay, I want the ratio of my measurement to my average. And we fill that down. There we go. Now, I actually don't need them for the 0 ones because that's the absorbance I really have here. So I can ignore those. We'll just do that. There we go. So these are the ones we're interested in. These are the ratios we have. And now we need to calculate the left-hand side of these. Now, in order to do that, we need to know the concentration of our initial amounts, okay? And we don't know that. So we're going to say Xi, color it yellow because that's the one we actually, you can see the yellow, I think. Just zoom in a bit. So that's going to be my variable. I'm just going to put in a value for now. So we're going to calculate the left-hand side here. Left-hand side, actually I should call this right-hand side. There we go. So for the left-hand side, I would like to have the concentration of my initial amount, and I would like to divide that by my SF. And the way I can calculate my SF is I can take my initial concentration, you can see it here. So that would be 40 milligrams times And then I'm gonna take my VS over 10 because that's my total volume. And I then wanna add my XF. And the way I calculate my XF is need to get this right. I take my XI. Actually, I want to do it like that. Multiply it by V0. So that's the one I have over here. Divided by my total volume, which is 10. And there we go. I just need to change one thing. I need this one to be fixed as well, because then I can just drag them down. Again, I'm going to remove these two. So far, so good. So if I change my initial, all of my values change here. Now, if I have the right initial concentration, this should hopefully hold true. So over here, I can take this one, subtract this one. You might remember that from when we did mass balances, that you can take left and right hand side and subtract them from each other. If your mass balances check out, they should be 0. I'm going to do it slightly differently here, and I'm going to square the difference. That way it doesn't matter if the difference between the two, if the right hand side is larger or smaller than the left hand side. Again, drag it down, ignore the ones we don't care about. And then I am going to sum up all of the differences that I have here. Say, okay, this is my result, or this is the combined difference. So now we need to use solver. I know you love solver. So we go to the solver. We say, I would like, wrong cell, I would like this. So the one where I sum up everything to be as small as possible. I don't want a value of 0 necessarily, but I want it as small as possible. And that can be achieved by changing the initial concentration of my sample. And then we try to solve it. That doesn't look nice. Why doesn't it look nice? Maybe I'm just too far from the correct value. We'll just try again. No, maybe it needs to be way higher. Ooh, that's not good. Did I do something wrong? That divided by that looks fine. This one. Let's just check my equations. I take concentration divided by, do I need to put in one there maybe? Hang on. This one plus that one. That just it? Go away. Why am I so... Oh, hang on. I invented the data, so they might not fit that well. So this might be the best I can actually do. But this should be the way to do it. So you basically try and minimize the error that you have between your left hand and right hand side. And then this will be the concentration that you are assuming you start out with in your sample. Or sorry, in your acid sample. So at this point, I take this one, I multiply it by my 10 milliliters, and I get total amount in or from cereal. There we go. So that's basically how you would do it. You would have to try and optimize these equations to get the best, how do you say, correlation between them. I have to say they are quite bad. Why are they quite bad? they're not bad in the same way. Did I mess something up? Two, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. All looks fine. These shouldn't change. Concentrations. We don't use them. Who cares? That's our absorbances. We take oh, I swapped them around. Hang on. Sorry about that. So I need my initial, or I took the average of my 3 initials and divided by the one we have there. Let's try and see if that helps us some. There we go. Let's just try and solve it again, see if that was the issue. And that certainly looks better. Yeah, sorry about that. The equation on the right-hand side, I had switched the nominator and denominator around. But that's basically the way you would do it if you have non-standard volumes that you've added together or that you've had to use. So if you read the section in the book, normally the way you do it is either you're really lazy and you just do, where do we have it? So you can do standard addition just with one sample. You usually should avoid that and instead use multiples. But you can either do it by having a sample where you continuously add more and more of your iron standard, for instance, or you can use the constant volume method so that you can just solve it graphically like